Hey there, reactors, and welcome back to The Reaction Shot, a pop culture podcast. And specifically, welcome to Season 3. I cannot believe that we've made it this far. 3 seasons in, and I'm still buzzing every time I hit record. And none of this happens without you, the listeners. I am still so proud to be a part of the You Run Podcast Network, a powerhouse lineup of creators covering everything under the sun. And speaking of powerhouses, let me highlight one in particular for you. The Horror Friendly Podcast. Your new favorite deep dive into all things spooky, sassy, and delightfully unhinged. Each episode uncorks a bottle and a fresh perspective as the hosts explore the horror genre through the female lens, one film at a time. Their chemistry is electric, their knowledge runs deep, and their banter turns every discussion, from iconic classics to modern nightmares, into a ride that you don't want to get off. This is booze-fueled horror talk at its finest. Funny, sharp, insightful, and packed with the energy that keeps you hitting next episode without any hesitation. You can find the Horror Friendly Podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or right at yourunpodcast.com. Seriously, give them a listen. It's smart, it's distinctive, and is an absolute blast from the first minute to the last. And while you're there, you can dive into this show and the rest of the incredible lineup at yourunpodcast.com, explore, binge, and support the creators who make this community such a fun place to be. And after you deep dive into the You Run Podcast creators and subscribe to them all, please be sure to check out The Running Man from Paramount Pictures. In this fun, high-octane thrill ride, one man turns a deadly game show into the ultimate spectacle by outrunning hunters, dismantling the system, and becoming the hero of a nation addicted to chaos. The new The Running Man movie is now available to buy on 4K, DVD, Blu-ray, and digital. And it doesn't stop there. Dexter Resurrection is out to own now from Paramount and Showtime Entertainment. That's right, the Bay Harbor Butcher is back, and so is your next binge. Dexter Resurrection Season 1 is now available on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital. And as for the reaction shot, well, you're here at episode 5 of Season 3. But this isn't just another episode of the reaction shot. This is a memory, a thank you, a tribute. Because before the podcast, before the microphones, before I even ever hit record, there was a kid sitting in front of a television watching Dawson's Creek and seeing himself in a dreamer named Dawson Leery. And that kid was me. When James Van Der Beek first appeared on our screens in 1998, he wasn't just playing a high school film nerd from Cape Side. He was every hopeful, overly emotional, Spielberg-obsessed romantic who believed that life was supposed to mean something. He made it okay to feel big, to love movies out loud, to chase something bigger than your small town. I was 10 years old when Dawson's Creek premiered, right at the start of those formative years that shape who you become. And week after week, Dawson wasn't just a character. He felt like a friend, like a big brother, like someone who understood what it meant to dream. And James, he gave that to us. This episode isn't just about the show that defined a generation. It's about the man at the center of it all. A man who loved with his whole heart, who spoke candidly about fatherhood, about faith, about brutal honesty required to face cancer day after day. A man whose most meaningful role wasn't on the WB. It was as a husband, a father, and a human being who showed up fully for the life that he was given. And if you know me, you know Dawson's Creek isn't just casual nostalgia. It's foundational. It shaped the way I talk about storytelling. It shaped how I understood character. It shaped how I connect to emotion on screen. So for this episode, Brittany Cunningham joins me not just as a co-host, but as someone who lived those Wednesday nights the same way I did. Someone who watched James Van Der Beek appear on our screens and followed his career through so many memorable performances. Someone who followed his life off-screen too. The love he found, the family he built, and the courage he showed while facing an incurable cancer with grace and honesty. This episode is about the career, the life, and the passing of James Van Der Beek. It's a celebration of a light gone far too soon. A life that reminded us to feel deeply, to love loudly, to chase the dream, and to never apologize for caring. As his character Dawson once said, "It's interesting that people use that expression, life and death, as if to imply that life is the opposite of death, but birth is the opposite of death. Life has no opposite." This one's for you, James. Hi everyone, I'm Davey Herman, and this is The Reaction Shot, a pop culture podcast. Here, every episode is a deep dive into the stories, visuals, sounds, and moments that shape our culture. This season, I'm going bigger. Sure, a guest and I still break down the movies we love, but now we're exploring the TV that keeps us up all night, the music that scores our lives, and the creative minds behind it all. From first-time reactions to heartfelt love letter episodes, to exclusive conversations with filmmakers, showrunners, musicians, and everyone in between, this is your all-access pass to the art that moves us. Whether we're dissecting behind-the-scenes magic, unpacking cultural impact, or debating wildly different opinions, one thing is guaranteed: we're diving deep into the world of pop culture. If it's on a screen, in your headphones, or blowing up the timeline, we're breaking it all down. Past, present, and future. Thank you for hitting play. Now it's time to ask, what's your reaction? Fade in. Hey, Brittany, welcome back to The Reaction Shot. How are you today?
I'm great, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. We're doing an episode to honor the late James Van Der Beek. He recently passed from colon cancer. It was kind of a shock to a lot of people. You know, we knew he was sick. He's been very open about his diagnosis. I feel like we've kind of followed his journey for what feels like quite some time. I think it's been 2 years now since he discovered his diagnosis, and we've been kind of watching him deal with the daily ins and outs, and all the things that come with this. And as we all know, cancer is a horrible disease, and he definitely fought the good fight. I reached out to you because I knew that you were someone who could sit here and talk to me for a little bit about what James Van Der Beek means to us. He gave us a lot of art over time, obviously in media form. One of the things that really stand out is Dawson's Creek, which is something you and I both have connected with over the years, amongst many other things.
Yes.
Dawson's Creek has always been a staple in my life, and I feel like in a weird way it's been a staple in your life as well. Something that you always go back and rewatch and
It
feel
has.
some sort of comfort with it. So thanks for doing this episode with me. Can't wait to honor this guy who definitely changed a lot of lives. And reading all these tributes that have been coming out since his passing truly showed how good of a person he was, and reading what people have to say is just absolutely incredible. This man
Yeah.
touched a lot of lives, and that's outside of just how we knew him on screen. These people, they got to know James, and we, just from getting a peek into his life through his characters that he portrays on screen, we got to know him a little bit. But it's great to see these people that get to talk about him in his normal everyday life. Do you remember the first time that you really saw James Van Der Beek on screen, and what was that?
The first time that I saw James Van Der Beek on screen was Dawson's Creek
Mm,
back in 1998, which is so crazy, right? Like,
yeah,
that was a minute long.
that was a minute long. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that it's been this long. 1998, Dawson's Creek premiered, and it kind of changed television. And honestly, that was my first time ever really seeing James Van Der Beek on screen as well. He did a lot. He did a lot for that show, which we'll definitely get into. But again, there's that connection. You and I, Dawson's Creek was our first time watching it. Did you watch Dawson's Creek like right when it premiered, or did you come in a little bit later to it?
So, honestly, I personally thought that I came into it way later, but
Mm,
I've rewatched it multiple times throughout my
yeah,
life. Um, and I realized that I don't think I missed a lot because I was a big Buffy fan, and they
gotcha.
put it on right after Buffy because it
Conveniently,
was doing so well, so it was like, might as well line it up with the number 1 show
yeah,
that's currently happening.
yeah.
So then Dawson's Creek blew up, and it was 6 years of just, so many emotions that that TV show.
So many emotions, and again, this is something we've connected over, bonded over the last several years of knowing one another. And Dawson's Creek, when it premiered on television, just kind of changed the landscape of teenage soap opera dramas, and
Yeah,
I was not allowed to watch it at first. My parents were like, "Absolutely not." The first scene, they're talking about genitalia and being virgins, and should we sleep together? Should we not sleep together? And there was a lot of other things happening, and my parents were like, "No, this is not for you." So what I would do is I would watch Buffy, and back in the old days in 1998, I would take a VHS tape, I put it in the VCR, I would set a timer for it to record the latest
yeah,
episode of Buffy, but what I would do is I would program it
and
to go even longer, so Dawson's Creek was going to be a part of this tape no matter what.
that's
Savage.
first off amazing. So you're saying that you have VHS tapes with both Buffy and Dawson's Creek on it?
Absolutely. I actually think that I still have the VHS tape of the series finale of Dawson's Creek as well that I personally recorded. Yeah.
You need to bring that back. That
I need
is
to bring it back, yeah. So
amazing. Because could you imagine the commercials too? Like,
oh, yeah.
just the look of it,
Mhm. Yep.
wild. Also, I remember watching that 2-hour series finale.
Mhm.
Just
It's
like, I watched mini clips of it, and I was in absolute tears.
Yeah, I mean, again, Dawson's Creek was a very important television show. Sure, we were 10 years old when it started, but
Yeah,
we grew alongside of it, which in part we grew alongside James Van Der Beek. He was only 10 years older than us, Brittany,
yeah,
10 and a half years older than us. That's way too young. Death is obviously a very horrible thing, no matter what age. 48 years old, just shy of his 49th birthday. And we have to say goodbye to him because of what happened. So, let's talk about James Van Der Beek's childhood. All right, let's go all
yeah,
the way back in time. He was born on March 8th, 1977, in Cheshire, Connecticut. He played a lot of sports in school when he was younger. Football was one of his favorite things. In middle school, going to a middle school version of Grease on stage, and he fell in love with acting, with the stage, with performing. He basically went to his mom and was like, "Look, I would really like to be an actor." She was pretty supportive of it. His parents in general were pretty supportive of it. And what happened
mhm,
from there is they ended up moving to New York City. And in New York City, he started pursuing acting at the age of 15 years old. And yes, he was still in high school. So this little 15-year-old high school guy is going on all these auditions. He ended up getting a role on Clarissa Explains It All with Melissa Joan Hart. One of his first roles ever. I mean, it was obviously I believe it was just one episode. Yeah, one episode of Clarissa Explains It All, which is a show that I watched all the time when I was younger, and probably the
same.
same with you.
Which I don't know if I missed the episode or I just didn't connect, like, "Oh, that's the same person as this."
Sure. No, seeing pictures of it, I feel like I remember the episode, but at the
Yeah,
same exact time, I nothing ever clicked.
couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so thank you, internet, for really pulling this all together for us.
I know, and I wanna say that I read that that was Melissa Joan Hart's, first on-screen kiss was
Oh,
with James Van Der Beek for
well,
that
perfect.
episode.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
And, like, so many coming of age shows that he was a part of in different stages, like, of our lives.
yes,
So cool.
and that's definitely what this whole I want this whole episode to be about. Is just that, he being 10 years older than us, it doesn't even feel like it's that big of an age difference.
Oh, not at all.
We grew up with him. It's just it's sad to say goodbye. I mentioned in my one of my posts on social media that I felt like I lost a brother. I grew up an only child. Friendship always meant so much to me, and that's how I connected with Dawson's Creek, connected with the character of Dawson. And
Mhm.
losing him kind of feels like losing a brother, and I know that's so weird to say because I didn't know him personally, but
It's
again, as I said
relatable.
earlier, it's wild to me, and I was probably visibly sad whenever I got the news that he passed. Like losing a friend, losing a brother, in that capacity is what this passing feels like.
Agreed. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Going back to New York City, seeing these roles, he was in Clarissa Explains It All, for a very small part, but it was something. And along came this movie called Angus. Did you ever see Angus, Brittany?
I haven't, but I
Uh,
saw some of the posters, saw some of the clips. Did he play a bully?
he did play a bully. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He was like one of the cool kids.
The cool guys?
One of the cool dudes.
I could
But
tell
yeah,
by the hair, like, the hair flip. I was like, "He's
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
being like, mm."
Yeah, he was the pretty boy with the blonde hair, the blue eyes that
Yep.
thought he was better than everybody else. I did see Angus at some point in time in my childhood. I really don't remember anything about it, but I did make that connection once Dawson's Creek started, but I didn't see Angus until after I saw Dawson's Creek. So,
Okay.
if anything, knowing who I am, I probably love Dawson's Creek
Looked
so
up all
much.
of his movies, yes.
Yeah, so I would try to figure out what other movies these people are in. I mean, I did the same thing with Katie Holmes too. I
Same.
found out she was from
Michelle
Toledo,
Williams,
Ohio. Yeah, I found out she was
yeah.
from Toledo, Ohio, and I was like, "So we're basically neighbors, Katie and I." That's how I see it.
You're
Yeah.
like, "We're basically
We're
besties."
we're basically best friends, like, it's only, like, a 3-hour drive, guys.
Yeah. Who
I can
knew?
go hang out with my bestie, Katie,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I feel like that's what I probably did with James Van Der Beek's career, but
mhm,
since it just started, there obviously wasn't much to go off of. But over time, again, with the internet and streaming services, we can go back and look at a lot of these things in his career. So
mhm.
this brings us to Dawson's Creek. We've already kind of started talking about Dawson's Creek, but Dawson's Creek premiered in January of '98. It was written and created by Kevin Williamson, who kind of wrote these characters as little pieces of himself.
Yeah.
Dawson being a big part of that as when he was younger, he wanted to make movies. He was obsessed with film. Steven Spielberg was his favorite director of all time, and that was his life goal, so he would make movies with his friends. Even though he was mirroring himself with these characters, Dawson Leery was a very special person to him. James Van Der Beek actually came in and auditioned for the role of Pacey Witter. Kevin Williamson met him and was like, "You are not a Pacey Witter, you are a Dawson." So if it wasn't for Kevin Williamson seeing this, we might have, in some strange alternate reality, had James Van Der Beek playing Pacey Witter.
And you wanna know what's even crazier?
Yes.
That Joshua Jackson auditioned to be Dawson Leery
I couldn't imagine
at all.
either of them. I
The
couldn't
swap.
Yeah, that swap is
No,
insane. I don't know if I would like it as much, and it's not to say that either one of them were bad or couldn't do it,
no. But
but
it would've been so like, they are I think they made their characters so much like, Joshua Jackson is Pacey Witter.
yes.
James Van Der Beek is Dawson Lear, like, that you can't they are one and the same.
Yeah.
So I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine them swapping. Maybe in, like, a goofy episode, like a one-off episode that they could have
Yeah,
done, like, what if the tables were turned?
yeah.
Fine. But other
Oh,
than that, absolutely not.
that would be incredible, and James Van Der Beek had this charismatic old soul to him
Mhm.
whenever he was portraying Dawson. If that was him in real life or not, I'm not sure, but he brought that to this character. He was wise beyond his years. He was very in touch with his emotions throughout the arcs of the show. There was a lot of tears, not only from, if we're falling into the stereotypical world, people don't like when boys cry, and this is something
Yeah.
that this stigma that we've been trying to shake. And in a weird way, James Van Der Beek brought this vulnerability to the character of Dawson and kind of told everyone without saying it it's okay to be emotional, it's okay to cry, it's okay to have these big feelings, and when you're a teenager, you don't understand those feelings, you can't fully comprehend them, and everything is so monumental. I mean, god, they debated about a kiss for a whole damn season, during
Yeah,
season 2. I mean, he brought this again, this vulnerability to that character that I feel as though maybe at the time, I didn't feel like I saw as much. We can talk about the crying meme when Dawson cries when he finally lets Joey go. Now,
yeah,
James Van Der Beek has made so many references to this meme. It's a very popular internet meme. A lot of people chalk it up to bad acting. It's a bad facial expression for crying. But I think it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and I think that's what the real situation is here. James Van Der Beek in no way during Dawson's Creek ever gave off bad acting vibes. He had
never.
cried before. This
Mhm.
was just one of the hardest things that anyone can do. Letting go of someone you love is a very hard thing to do. It's going to change the course of your life by letting go of someone who he loved so deeply and was sure that he was meant to spend the rest of his life with.
And to his best friend.
To his best friend, yes.
So it's
And
not like she was gonna disappear, like, that was always gonna be in front of his face, and he
yes.
had to make a choice.
Mhm.
Like, "I'm not gonna make this girl suffer because I love her, and if
Yeah.
she loves him, then I have to let her go," and that's the ultimate, like, sacrifice of love, is to let the one that you love the most go to find their way, whether
Mhm.
it's back to you or not.
1,000%. So, my interpretation of this is that it was uncomfortable, and that's why it
Yeah.
became something that people laughed at. Yes, it's an ugly cry, but to be honest, if I was being filmed crying my eyes out in that same type of situation, I'd probably look like that too, maybe worse, I don't know.
Right?
That's what James Van Der Beek brought to Dawson, and not just with tears, not just with those types of things, it's he just brought this a more grounded, realistic version of a man who is in touch with his emotions, and that is one of the things that makes Dawson stand out as a character. Now, we know over time that James Van Der Beek did kind of tire of playing Dawson. You know,
Yeah.
when you're on a TV show for as long as they were, which was 6 years, especially because he was young, he got cast as Dawson at the age of 20 years old, and, so now he's getting into the age of 26, 27, and the whole world was looking at him because he's on this hit network television show, so, of course, he wanted to spread his wings and go try some new things. This kind of leads into a few of his next upcoming roles that he had. During Dawson's Creek, he did a movie called Varsity Blues from MTV Productions. So MTV was like, let's do a movie where you're kind of an anti-Dawson. You're still in touch with your emotions. You're still this is how we pull people in, but he's gonna be this jockey football player, which probably got James Van Der Beek attracted to the role to begin with since he liked playing football so much as a child. That was his draw, and the great thing about Varsity Blues is that it was still, we're still telling a teenage story in a small town, and everyone there is obsessed with football, and he's trying to figure out his whole life and what he wants to do with his life. So we're still dealing with the teenage aspect, but this character, he had dark hair. He was again the anti Dawson. So I think that's what attracted him to the role. He's gonna be playing something a little bit different. Have you seen Varsity Blues before, Brittany?
I actually watched it today. I
Oh,
had yes, I had never seen it,
okay.
and that threw me off, the brown hair threw me off. I
Yeah.
was like, I don't think I've ever seen him with such dark hair before."
Not my Dawson.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, hold on." But, like, alright, I will let it slide.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
He
fine.
accepted it. It's fine.
Yes, it was interesting. It was an
Yeah.
interesting movie. I'm not here to review that, so maybe at a later date, and I can tell
At a
you
later
my
date, we'll really dive into that one, guys.
my very authentic reaction. But
Yeah.
I did watch it, and it was not the character that I'm used to him playing,
Mm,
because I'm like, Dawson's Creek is one of my number 1 things that I've ever watched him in. So, it was interesting and refreshing to see him play a different role, because I know that that man has range
sure.
watching Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
So, obviously, he's very capable of doing something like that,
Yeah.
especially at a younger age.
Yeah. And that was the thing too, he landed such a great role at such a young age. there was some stigma around Dawson, as I mentioned. Him taking on this role and doing it in like an MTV Productions, getting an R rating, being a little bit more edgy than obviously you can be on network television. That was his draw, and I think audiences were definitely here for that. The movie's enjoyable. It does what it set out to do. I'm happy
Yeah.
that James Van Der Beek got a role like that so he can kind of play around a little bit more with what he wanted to do acting wise. Which
Mhm.
then brings us to another movie, which was the anti Dawson, and that movie is The Rules of Attraction. Have you ever seen The Rules of Attraction, Brittany?
I have not.
Okay.
I've always heard about it. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, all of those actors in that movie, like, I've seen them before,
Mhm.
and I've always been meaning to watch it, but I never got around to it, but I would
Yeah.
definitely put it on the list of
Sure.
things to watch.
Yeah. So The
I
Rules
did
of
watch the
Attraction.
trailer, though. I
Okay,
did
you
watch
watched
the
the
trailer,
trailer.
though.
So you
Yeah,
got you got you got the James Van Der Beek vibe from the trailer.
I did.
So with The Rules of Attraction, it was based on a book that is very edgy, college age teenagers who just do some crazy emotional things. It's a very
Mhm.
dark version, very similar to Euphoria. So if you're thinking we're in Dawson's Creek land, we're definitely not. I think he was handed the script for The Rules of Attraction, was like, oh, okay, so we're gonna do all the things that we've alluded to on here, or we've dabbled a little bit as much as we can on network television, but
Yeah,
we're gonna
on the
crank that
table.
up 100%. And that's
Full
exactly
volume,
what they
yes.
did. Yes, full volume, maximum speed, no turning back. The Rules of Attraction
Definitely put it
is
on
yeah, The
the
Rules of
list.
Attraction is Dawson plus Mox from Varsity Blues slammed together and then amplified by 100, and that is literally what you were getting here. But I think it was great for him. He really showed range with this because not only was his character dark and dramatic, he was also really funny. It's a very dark humor, and he
Yeah.
does it so well. He refers to himself as an emotional vampire feeding off the emotions of those around him. Love it. Love it.
I think that happens in a part of the trailer, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Vampire? Huh,
Mhm. She's
okay."
like, "Huh, is this a vampire film?" No.
Right?
So, he wanted to show his range. He was still doing Dawson's Creek when he did Varsity Blues and The Rules of Attraction. I think it was a great way for him to say, "I can be more than at the time what people were making fun of about Dawson being so sensitive." Again, over time, we've kind of learned the positives about the role of Dawson Leery, but it was not embraced as much at that moment in time, especially the longer
Yeah.
the show went on. But everything kind of shifted to Pacey and Joey, so people were kind of getting more into the Pacey character, things like that. But getting on to more James Van Der Beek roles, I definitely want to talk about his guest role on How I Met Your Mother and on One Tree Hill. Now, I know you're a big One Tree Hill fan. What can you say about his role on One Tree Hill?
So his role on One Tree Hill actually was which absolutely love that they did this. He was a film director in One Tree Hill. So he goes to Tree Hill to, make Lucas's book into a movie, but he is an absolute dick.
Yeah,
Like, he is so crude, and they're just like, "Get this guy out of here." But then at the same time, you're like watching this show that is filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina, basically on the same set as Dawson's Creek. He's a completely different version of what Dawson by the end that you're thinking, like, Dawson would become, but then you're like, now we get the alternate version of, like, what if Dawson Leary became just a dickhead director and
yeah,
he was just going out in on sets being like, "You're gonna do this, 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 and this," and roll out. But,
crazy.
like, just to see him play with all of those actors, and you can tell that they were having so much fun on that set. I think he was on 4 episodes on
Okay.
season 6, but I just remember him getting on the screen, I was like, "Shut up." Not my one of my favorite characters from my past show on my current favorite show.
Yeah, that was
It
great
was
that they did something. Yeah, it's great that they did something like that. And like you said, it's again, we're falling into the anti-Dawson category where he's playing a version of his character in a way. Obviously, he's not Dawson, but
Mhm.
we know that Dawson ends with him finally becoming a director, getting to make a TV show and films, and getting a phone call with Spielberg. In a weird way, it's kind of like Oh, okay, so we're kind of continuing the story without it being
Like, it
the same
happened.
character, but
Uh-huh.
it's the complete flip of what we would think
Yeah.
Dawson Leery would be like.
And
So,
honestly, that's probably why James did it. He was probably
mm,
like, "Okay, guys, I'm getting on this set. If I'm gonna be a director, I have to be a
mhm,
completely different one than what everybody's going to assume
yeah,
that I would still be."
yeah,
Because then he would've just been like the characters that he was going to create that world with, but then it's like, well, what's the point of that?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you need conflict in something that is like a high stake, storyline, which it
mhm.
was.
Now, my question for you is, since you didn't see Varsity Blues or The Rules of Attraction, was
Yeah.
this, like, kind of the first time you saw him outside of Dawson?
Sure was. It
Wow,
sure
okay.
was.
Wow,
And
what year was
that's what I
Winfrey
mean,
Hill?
like, so
Last
that
season.
so actually that wasn't the last season.
Okay.
That was season 6. I wanna say that came out in, 2009?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so that was 6 years after Dawson's Creek ended? When did Dawson's Creek end? 2003?
2003, yep.
Yeah, yeah, so that was 6 years after, um, he finished. It was the overlap, like, they were finishing filming Dawson's Creek while they were gearing up to start One Tree Hill, so they would, like, see them in bars and be like, "Oh my god, that's gonna be us," and, like, "We gotta befriend them, we have to see, like, what they don't like."
For
Yes.
sure. Zach and I always joked every time James Van Der Beek would show up somewhere, Zach would always be
Yeah.
like, "It's Dawson." Like, every time. And there's nothing wrong with that, like, Dawson's Creek is such a staple, especially to
Mhm.
millennials. So when we do see
Yes.
James Van Der Beek, we know that he's not playing Dawson, but that's how our brains know him
Every time, but
every
I will
time.
say in Scary Movie, he is technically playing Dawson because he peeks in the window and he
Mhm.
goes, wrong set."
Yeah. Hilarious. I'm so glad you brought that up. Scary Movie, I remember I saw Scary Movie in theaters, and
Same.
when you see the ladder on the window and Paula Cole's "I Don't Wanna Wait" starts playing and Dawson comes in
Yep.
through the window. Genius
Hilarious.
moment. So
Yes.
funny. I
Hilarious.
loved it. I remember being in the theater and being like, "Oh shit, it's Dawson!"
Everybody I remember everybody screamed. Everybody screamed.
Yeah, it was such a moment.
What a time,
What a time to be alive, for sure.
honestly.
Um,
Early to late '90s, early 2000s, they were giving us the best
mhm,
art
yes.
of film and TV, just all the things.
We lucked
Music,
out.
Paula
We lucked
Cole.
out. Oh,
We did we did luck out. I
yeah,
will say
we
that.
this was, pretty much I mean, internet was around, but it wasn't in
We got
everyone's
to enjoy
fingertips.
it while it was everything was authentic, it wasn't
Yep,
being just, like, pummeled by people's opinions and things.
yep,
If you wanted to hear somebody's opinion, you would have to seek it out yourself, it wouldn't just pop up
yeah, yeah.
unsolicited.
Ugh. The unwanted 0-star reviews because
Yeah,
someone breathed the wrong way.
yeah, because somebody
Ridiculous.
made a crying face that they didn't like.
Yes. Can you imagine if that you know what? I will
No.
forever mm,
No, because I actually do remember whenever people were, like, just going in on it, and I
mhm,
not necessarily would have said that I was one of them, but I just remember thinking like, "Why is he crying like that?" But then I
yeah,
watched the clip again, like, that whole clip, and you're like, "No, that was a warranted crash out." All of them were.
yeah, absolutely, and again, sorry guys, this whole episode, we're gonna keep bringing it back to Dawson's Creek, so always. We do in real life too, so it's fine.
Oh, every time.
But
It's like more than one I've mentioned Dawson's Creek in our movies that have nothing to do with any
no, same. I do it in real life. I'm like, "Oh, well, this" on
this
episodes
one
of
time.
season 4, episode 3, there's a moment where Dawson and yeah, it's a mess.
Yep, and people are like, "What?" And I'm like, "You've never seen that?" And they're like, "No, you
Yeah,
watch
and
too
then you're
much
like
TV."
yeah, like, "Please watch this."
I'm like, "Or I
Um,
was privileged enough to watch it when it was
yes,
on."
and we were privileged
Yes.
enough. Again, we were a little bit younger than they were, obviously, but just kinda
Yes.
growing up alongside of them and then being older and understanding
What they
the
were talking
why.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and, like, the whys behind the way Dawson acted,
Mhm.
with crying and things like that, so
Yes.
god damn, alright. Now, I'm gonna talk about 2 TV shows. One was very popular,
Yes.
the other one was not. I love both of these shows so much. One, the more popular one, is called Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. James Van Der Beek in this show, which only lasted 2 seasons, unfortunately,
Hmm.
James Van Der Beek plays James Van Der Beek.
Oh,
He is fantastic on this show. He is the anti-Dawson, but in a way only James Van Der Beek could play the anti-Dawson. His character, James Van Der Beek, strange, his character knows that he was on Dawson's Creek. The very first episode, we see him, he fully commits to this part, and someone says, "Oh, do you have one of your fans over again?" And then you hear Paula Cole's "I Don't Wanna Wait" song playing. The girl talking to him, she was like, Did you make them wear the flannel T-shirt again?" And you see this girl coming downstairs as Paula Cole's playing, and she has a flannel T-shirt on. She's like, "Do you want me to put this on?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll be up there later, babe." It's hilarious, Brittany. Like, you would love
I'll
it.
have to watch it. Yeah.
It's
What's it
it's
on?
well, that's the thing. I feel like it's not streaming anywhere. I do
Okay.
own it, like, in my digital library, but
Yeah.
I really think you'll enjoy it because he's literally playing himself, and everything is so meta. He talks
Yeah.
about Dawson's Creek all the time. So,
That's funny.
it's really well done show. It was very popular its first season. I don't really know what happened during the second season to make it lose viewerships,
Yeah.
but it obviously got canceled, and we're just left with
Mm.
2 seasons of that. Other TV show that he did that really flew under the radar, but I'm not gonna lie to you, Brittany, I watch it all the time because I think it is hilarious. It is
Mhm.
called Friends with Better Lives. He plays a guy who's currently going through a divorce, and he moves in with his 2 best friends who have been married for years. They have a kid, so they're kind of, like, all coupled up and doing all the cutesy couple things. He's trying to figure out what his life's going on. Then they have 2 other friends that hang out with them all the time that are kind of like wildflowers doing their own thing, sleeping with crazy amounts of people, and it's a really funny show. It's hilarious. It's a sitcom, obviously, but
Mhm.
his role in the show, he just does such a good job. He really jumped into his comedic acting around this time, and he really found his voice for comedy. Not saying that he was never funny before, but I feel this was kind of the direction he was heading, and he nails it. With these 2 shows, he just does such a great job playing these characters and being genuinely funny. Like, his comedic timing is
His timing is
perfect.
great.
Yeah, and again, it's not to say that he's never had that humor, but that self-aware humor that he adapted in Don't Trust the Bee was great, and then Friends with Better Lives, he really tapped into kind of like Friends, that type of humor, and he
Okay.
did a really good job at it. That is not available to own anywhere. I bought it on Apple back after the show premiered and stuff, so I just
Uh-huh.
have it, but I don't really think that's accessible outside of if you own it on Apple, but whatever. It's really good.
Yeah.
If you guys find it out there, give it a shot. It deserved better.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Brittany, he did Dancing with the Stars, right?
He did do, like, Dancer with the Stars, which was so great.
So great.
Whenever they announce, like, the people who are dancing with the pros,
Mm.
I always get excited. So whenever Dawson Leery was dancing, I said, "He's back, baby. Let's go." He ended up getting 5th place, and he did such a great job.
Yeah.
He's such a beautiful dancer. Such a beautiful dancer. Love
Yeah,
him.
I didn't I don't watch Dancing with the Stars, but I went back
Yeah.
and watched some highlights and some moments, and yeah, he's a fantastic dancer. 5th
And
I
he
didn't
was
know he
paired
ended
with
in 5th
Emma
place.
Slater,
Yeah,
which she is fantastic as well. So, like, that pairing, it couldn't have been a better match. It
it's
was so
amazing.
good. Ugh.
Yeah, I guess I never realized I guess he's never really had any roles where he flaunts his
Yeah,
dancing by any means, but,
which I wish she would have because
pretty
then
damn good.
uh-huh.
A and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't his wife going through a miscarriage at the time while he was doing it?
Yes. Yeah, actually, it was I wanna say his last dance,
Okay.
to the point where whenever it was between, 2 of the last couples to see who got eliminated, and the judges picked the other one. I forget what her name was, but she was pleading to them, and even Tom Bergeron, she was like, "Can you just take my spot? Like, "No," and they were like, "No, we can't do that." She was like, "No, because he deserves to be here."
Yeah.
But, like, I think he was just appreciative to be there, to be able to get on that stage to express his emotions as a human being going through a very human experience with his wife and his family, so
Yeah.
it was a lot. It
Yeah,
was
a
heavy.
lot.
It was
Uh,
heavy.
had also done a little stint on The Masked Singer. Did you watch The Masked Singer?
I don't watch that, but I did watch, like, his performances, which
Mhm.
I'm shocked that they didn't know that that was his voice immediately. Like, I heard it, I was like, "That sounds like James."
I don't think
And,
she said
maybe right, but, like, maybe the producers were like, "Okay, you can't guess, it's your friend."
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
um, I think on his last episode of The Masked Singer, the newest guest star of the panel, she was like, I guess they'd, like, choose who they think it was, and one person said Chad Michael Murray, and
Mm.
then the new girl said James Van Der Beek, and she was even looking at them and said, "How did you not know it was" like, I'm confused. It sound
Great.
and he sang "Rewrite the Stars" from why can't I think of the movie?
Showman,
Michelle Williams is it yes, The Greatest Showman. That
The Greatest
was
Show
hard. I don't
yeah.
know what just happened, but
It's
he
okay.
sang yeah, buffering. He sang "Rewrite the Stars," one of my favorite songs. He did so well. I want to, like, put that on repeat. It was so good.
Yeah, I watched a few clips of him on The Masked Singer, listening to him sing, and he is great too. I mean, what a talented man, right?
So talented.
Yeah.
And he wanted to
He
be on Broadway, so that made sense that, of course, he would have voice. Or
yeah,
not I wouldn't say of course, but, like, I'm glad that he was like, "No, I could have done that, but,
yeah.
I became a heartthrob, and that wasn't an option for me anymore."
Yeah, so here we are.
Yeah.
Uh, another great thing about James is that he gave his voice to some animated shows, most notably Robot Chicken and Family Guy. So he was kind of dabbling with a little bit of everything, over his entire career, which is great. Most recently, he was in a film on Tubi called Sidelined: The QB and Me. He played a father to a football player in high school, so kind of a full circle moment.
Yeah.
He did a sequel called Sideline 2: Intercepted, playing the same role again, and he also filmed a role on the Legally Blonde TV show that's coming out in July. I believe he plays a principal when Elle Woods is in high school, so we'll be seeing him on a TV show this summer.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, so
Excited to see that.
we still get to see some of what James had to offer us with his talents, so
Mhm.
something to look forward to. Obviously, it'll be super sad since he's no longer with us. I'm glad we still got some new things to check out that he did, before his passing.
Yeah.
James always said that he struggled with the difficulty of escaping the teen heartthrob status, which is why he was constantly taking these other roles. And much like you mentioned, he wanted to do theater, he wanted to do these other things, so he was presented with the opportunities to do things like that later in his life. So, before his passing, I'm glad he got to do some of these things.
Yeah.
I also talked with you about how he wanted to reclaim his own narrative and his self awareness. He got caught up in the day in and day outs of being Dawson, of being an emotional person, and he's very open about it. He did tire of playing Dawson, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He needed to write that narrative for himself, which is why he took on the roles he did. Again, and I know I'm circling back to what I just said, but then he took on other roles such as The Masked Singer and Dancing with the Stars to really show his talents. Even though it was hard for him for a while to shake all of that, I think, in my opinion, he found a lot of great roles that served his talent perfectly.
I agree. I agree. And it was hard for actors in the '90s and the early 2000s because once you were on, whether it was a TV show, because it wasn't you can be a TV star and a movie star. It was one or the other.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
it was hard for them to, like, then move on to something different, especially if they started on TV.
Yes.
Like, so that's good that he was able to do so many projects that were different from where he started
Mhm.
and, like, really get the full experience of being an actor that's what he wanted because he didn't I don't think he wanted the fame of it
Mhm.
because whenever Dawson's Creek, I was watching the interview, he was like, "Yeah, I signed my first, autograph. I was so excited about that." And
Yeah.
then a week later, I'm being chased and, like, I can't even go to the mall. I have money to spend at the mall, but I can't even go because everybody is just like, "Dawson Leery, Dawson Leery."
Yep.
Like, "No, I'm James Van Der Beek. Let me go get a hat."
Yeah. Yeah, and that's again, it's a blessing and a curse, fame.
Yeah,
They definitely found it at a very young age. He
yeah.
mentioned that he's glad that the core of Dawson's Creek never took the bad paths in life and, they were never in the press all the time, going to jail and doing some crazy things, so
And that is the plus of filming in Wilmington, North Carolina, because the cast of One Tree Hill said the same thing.
Yeah, that's
And,
great.
Meredith, who played Andy, she I believe she said, like, it would've been so different if they were in New York or LA because
Mhm.
you're on the stages of where movie stars are typically supposed to be.
Yep.
So, small town Wilmington, North Carolina, nobody's gonna really go there. And the townies, they're like, "Hey, come on in. We'll protect you here."
Yeah,
And, like, people do not bother them.
yeah. You're so correct. Filming in a small town such as Wilmington, North Carolina clearly had huge benefits. I guess it's a blessing for all these people involved, and,
Yeah,
uh, they made the most of it, so
they did.
pivoting away from his career, kinda talking about his life a little bit, he first married in 2003 to actress Heather McComb. They were together for 7 years and divorced in 2010. He later spoke about how the divorce was a major emotional reckoning for him. He claims it to be a time of self-reflection and personal growth. Divorce was not something that he wanted, but it was something that happened. He took I guess you could say he took the positives from that loss. So this led him to meet his soon-to-be wife, Kimberly. They were traveling with friends in Israel, where James Van Der Beek decided that he was done being single, that he wanted a real relationship, what he referred to as a soulmate, and someone who he could build a family with. He posted on social media at the time and said, "I was mid-revelation, rattling all this off to a friend of mine when a voice interrupted us, wanting to ask him a question. I was annoyed. Who the hell was stepping all over my moment? I turned around. It was Kimberly. 3 days later, I asked her what she was looking for in a relationship. Her answer, I'm not looking for a relationship. 6 months later, we were living together. 2 weeks after that, we were pregnant, and almost exactly 1 year to the date after she'd first interrupted me, we were married."
That's wild.
So, yeah, this was, an off chance meeting. They were traveling. James Vanderbeek was traveling with his friends in Israel, ran into her randomly, and this is where they are. They have 6 children named Olivia, Joshua, Annabelle, Amelia, Gwendolyn, and Jeremiah. Olivia was born in 2010 and ranges all the way to Jeremiah, who was born in 2021. So big, beautiful family. And that is the one thing about James when it came to social media posts. He was always so positive and
Mhm.
so in love with his wife and his kids and love in general. In a weird way, and this is just my observation, in a weird way, all of those things about Dawson as a character that was, I don't want to say made fun of, but something that was always talked about of him being in tune with his emotions, being honest about his feelings, being okay to be sensitive. I feel it's like almost like a full circle thing. Dawson Leary was not a real person, but when you're playing a role for so long, you kind of bring yourself to it, and that character kind of brings itself to you. Even though he pivoted away from wanting to be this character of Dawson, I feel like in real life, he kind of found that footing when he fell in love with his soulmate. And to me, that is a full circle moment that he was able to bring into real life to remind himself it is okay to be emotional. If I'm gonna ugly cry, I'm gonna ugly cry, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no internet meme that is going to take my feelings and how I feel about things away from me. So that is one thing about James Van Der Beek over the years, following him on social media, seeing these types of things, these posts, things that he says. I've always loved it. I always loved how in touch he was with not being afraid to tell the world, essentially, how much he loves his life, wife, and kids. What a man.
That
What a man.
honestly, honestly, and he brought that into his dancing. Honestly, you should if any season, you should watch season I believe it was what did I say, 28? Yes,
Mhm.
came out in 2019. It's such a he does so well,
Yeah,
and they'll talk about, like, the dance beforehand and all that stuff,
yeah,
but it's so good. And honestly, too, I think that he put just as much as himself in the character of Dawson Leery, and eventually throughout the years as you go, like, I think the writers will blend who that person is and the character that they created because they know that character the best.
yeah.
Like, they live with that character.
Mhm.
So, I think he he embraced it well because, like, that was just who he was.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. That is something that I talk about a lot, how much Dawson meant to me as a character when I was younger. Just like Dawson, I was obsessed with film. I was close to my friends. We would make movies all the time. I would talk about my favorite directors and actors and how I was gonna be in Hollywood, and that was all I wanted. I didn't not that I didn't care about anything else, but it was this wild imagination that I had where everything was attainable no matter what. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't follow their dreams because I clearly didn't go out to Hollywood and try to pursue this happening, but
Yeah.
that was what I wanted to do when I was a kid, and well, I mean, hell, I still wanna do it now, guys. Let's
Yeah.
not kid ourselves, but there's just if you love something so much, to be so passionate about it is such a great thing, and if you're annoying somebody about it, who gives a shit? Do what you want with your dreams if it's something you're passionate about, and that was what I always loved about Dawson when I was younger, was that
Mhm.
he was so passionate about it, and he was constantly going for it, and that was something that I truly admired, and when I rewatched Dawson's Creek, I still admire it, and, in the end, spoiler alert, in the end, he gets everything that he wanted, and though some of those personal relationships that he had over time might have changed, he still was able to succeed at the one thing that he always set out to do, and with that, with storytelling, with filmmaking, he was able to maybe write a version of himself that got the other things that he didn't get, again, in character form. I think that James doing that with the character, whether it was the writers writing it or not, James brought a level of familiarity to that made it feel very realistic, and I think
Yes.
watching James over time, wanting, "Hey, mom, I don't wanna do football anymore. I saw a production of Grease. Let's take me to Hollywood. Let's go audition for roles." And him getting one of the biggest teen roles of all time at the time and succeeding that way and doing so much throughout his career is incredible, and I think that's kind of a similar story arc with Dawson,
Mhm.
which unfortunately brings us to some of the grievances that came in his life. Him and his wife had several miscarriages. He was always very vocal about it, about being there for his wife and how difficult it is, and he always put his wife first, and
They did.
he would always just he would do nothing but gush over her, and, when she was in pain or and grieving the way that, all mothers would, he was right by her side and letting the world know that, he needed to take some time to be with her, which I think is incredible as well. Again, it taps into the vulnerability of being open with emotions, being there for your family, family first, you know? He has a great career, but at what point in time do we take a step away
Yeah.
from that for a little bit to be there for our family? So, I don't know, I just think there's a lot of things about James over time that he really proved himself to just be a genuinely good person. He talked about his faith a lot, faith isn't necessarily something that I have a connection with, but I do love when people are very in tune with their religion and what they believe in, and that was
Yeah.
something that he really leaned into with some of the things that was going on in his life. I don't know if he always identified with a strong bond with God, but over time, you definitely saw it a lot more. He would talk
Mhm.
about, going to church, his faith. He would talk about meditation, plant medicine ceremonies. Him and his wife, Kimberly, just kind of lived this carefree, leaning into listening to the sounds of the earth, the spirituality. And I think that just kind of, it seemed to just relax him.
Yeah.
And he was not only in touch with his emotions, but he was in touch with, I guess you could say, everything else around him. And I don't know, I really like that. I think it shows a side of masculinity that a lot of people just hide from. Does that
And
make
won't
sense?
embrace because yeah, it makes perfect sense
Yeah.
because I feel like people think it's woo woo and all that stuff, but like the earth has been around for this long for a reason.
Mhm.
So if it wouldn't like have healing properties,
Yeah.
like it wouldn't make sense. So it
Yep.
makes sense that he found that spirituality in like getting in tune, whether he has been that way or not for his whole life with nature. It
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really admirable to read some posts that he would do where, he would write in length sometimes about his faith or getting in tune with the earth and those things around him and how we should open up our mind and heart and spirit to these types of things and let it in and just let it speak to us, which I
Yeah.
always thought was really cool. I love people who can tap into those types of things and talk about it very freely. So in 2020, during COVID, James and his family left Los Angeles and relocated to Texas. The move was basically a way for him to slow down, to be with his family, to be a little bit more present. Of course, he was still working,
Mhm.
but this kind of got them out of that Hollywood lifestyle. How do we slow it down and focus on nature that they love and privacy and a better quality of life and not be in the hustle and bustle and just really enjoy it. I think that's something great that they got to do as well. They have a big family. There were 6 kids and obviously the
Yeah.
two of them. He was also very, very vocal about going to therapy, being able to talk about his emotions with other people, and letting go of trying to get that validation from the Hollywood lifestyle. At this point in his life, in his career, he just wanted to be himself. He wanted to do the things that spoke to him. Again, I think it's great that he was very open about who he was as a person, especially later in his life, getting into the time when he was married and had kids.
Mhm.
Now this brings us to him discovering that he has colon cancer. He didn't want to share the news at first publicly. It was something that he wanted to sit with, to understand. He wanted to get all the knowledge he could, spend time with his family, and how they were going to deal with it. So he was diagnosed with colon cancer. And once he told everyone, and by everyone, I mean social media, once he was able to tell that part of his story, it was something he didn't shy from either. He would talk about the good days, he would talk about the bad days, he would talk about the people that were there for him. With social media, we were able to follow this closely. We would
Yeah.
see him in pictures and public appearances, and he was still working. I mean, God, he was still working all the way up essentially till he passed. And like I said, we still have 2 more projects that are coming out. To see his dedication and making sure that, his family would be taken care of once this happened
Yeah.
was was great. I'm glad that he was able to still work for quite a bit to get all that. And what did you feel when you found out he had cancer? Obviously not well, but what was your, like, initial reaction?
Oh, I was absolutely shocked because I was
Mhm,
like, He was just on Dancing with the Stars." Now, granted, it was a couple years prior to this, probably like 5 years
mhm,
since I was in 2019, but it's just, like, so unfortunate because cancer is hard. Like, it's
yeah,
hard to treat because, I mean, the chemo can save you, but it can also kill you. So
mhm,
it's just, like, just a hard life choice. I mean, uh, healthcare in America is not that great in general.
yeah,
So that off the bat, I can only imagine. Whether you are the richest person or not,
yeah,
it's still like you're putting money into something that you don't even necessarily know will work.
Yeah.
So so yeah, that was really shocking.
Yeah, and, seeing again cancer at any age is
Yeah,
fucking horrible
yeah.
and
But whenever you're so young,
young, full of life. People say that these types of things happen to the good ones, and I truly believe that James Van Der Beek
was a
was a
good
good
one.
one. I didn't know
Absolutely.
him, but he
Yeah.
portrayed himself so openly on social media
Mhm.
and in interviews that I really truly believe that he was a good one. With this, he was going through a lot of treatment publicly. He was diagnosed back in August 2023.
Yeah,
So this was something that he was battling for almost 3 years. On February 11th, 2026, at the age of 48, James Van Der Beek passed away at his home surrounded by loved ones. He wished to be at home, to be in a safe, comfortable place with the people that love him. Whew, we got a lot of tributes, a lot of outpouring
yeah.
of love for him that really, really showed how he was as a person. Where were you when you got the news that he passed?
I was actually, on my walk
Mhm,
because I like to walk around, and it's been, like, pretty cold in Pittsburgh, so it was finally a nice day. I'm like, "Let me get outside, let me walk," and a friend of mine, she had texted me, and it was 2 separate texts. One was a picture, but it was blurred out of how, like, I was looking at my phone, and then the next one was, "I'm shook." And for some reason, because I was just listening to Drama Queen's podcast, and they were talking about the Dawson's Creek of it all in Wilmington,
mhm.
and I just had this gut feeling of that's who she was talking about, and then I opened it up and immediate tears. Like, I could probably cry right now, so I'm trying not to. But, it was just like, because it hits you, 'cause I was 10 whenever I saw that guy on TV. So it's hard to ew, stop. Um, it's, like, hard to wrap your feelings and emotions around it because you're like, "Wow, he wasn't even that old."
Mhm.
Like, me watching him as a 10-year-old, I was like, "Oh, he's not even that much older than me, like, he's just a kid."
Yeah.
So, like, I'm seeing the kid version in an adult body,
Yeah.
and it's like, "Well, fuck."
Mhm.
Like, what the hell? And it's shitty because the good ones do go, they go young, and it's like, "Why can't we just cure cancer? Like, why can't we just figure it out so people aren't dying like
Mhm.
this?"
Yeah.
'Cause we have so much technology and so much science and so many things. You would think that this wouldn't be how somebody goes.
Mhm.
And I could only imagine, like, him and his family. It it's yeah, it's devastating. Where
Yeah.
were you whenever
Yeah,
you heard it?
devastating. So it was a very slow day at work, and
Mhm.
when it's slow, I'm usually
Hitting the
looking at my
scroll.
phone, yep, hitting the scroll, glancing over what's going on in the world, and probably looking at
Yep,
pop culture things. My boss texted me and said that the CEO of the company was coming in and just wanted to chit chat with me for a little bit. So I was like, oh, well, shit. All right, cool. CEO shows up. We talk for an hour and a half. We're just shooting the shit. I'm being
yeah,
respectful. I like to be respectful when I'm around people during serious conversations. So I had my phone sitting down face up. And I was like, Zach texted me, popped up on my phone. My mom texted me, popped up on my phone. My cousin
oh,
texted, popped on my
no,
phone. So I'm
oh,
getting like
no,
these random text messages. I say probably like 6 or 7 people messaged me, and they're all like random people in terms of
mhm,
like they're not all in the same circle. So I knew it wasn't anything like crazy, but I was like, at first I was like, what the hell's going on? But at the same time, I knew it wasn't an emergency. No one was calling my phone. There was no like bunch
yeah,
of texts all at once from the same person. So I'm just like looking at my phone, and then finally the CEO left, and I I opened up my mom's message first, and it was the picture of him, the passing with the black and white picture of the dates
yeah,
when he was born and when he passed. And fuck, it hit so hard.
like a
And
train.
oh my god, and w- huge Friends fan, watched lost Matthew Perry a couple years ago, but there was something about this that just hit me personally different. And I want to take it, and this isn't about me, but I want to take it back to Dawson was always this character that I felt a connection with, and James and how he brought him to life and all the same shit that I said over and over again, being in touch with your
Mhm.
emotions. And I was an emotional person. I felt like I was always in tune with the emotions. And I feel like you're always told like, well, you're a man, don't act that way. And in a weird way, Dawson by James made it okay to be that way. And the following your dreams aspect, and I don't know, I just always saw myself in him. And then he would always pop up on all these TV shows and he would just do so great at what he was doing. It was like I lost my brother, it was like I lost my friend, and
Mhm.
I'm just looking at all these people's text messages, and it's just, my mom, my cousin Zach, they're just like, "I'm so sorry, Dave." And again, I didn't know him personally, but these people, these characters that these people bring to life, it's an art. And through
Yes.
that art, they're able to tell stories in a weird way. These actors don't just take these roles for no reason.
No.
I can't say at 20 years old, James wasn't just like, "Ah, cool, a TV show, I'm gonna do this. Of course, it's gonna be good for me, whatever." But there was a connection with Dawson that he felt over time, and he brought that to it all the time and continued to do that with all of his roles. And I don't know, it's just I I just felt a really deep connection with him, so it was rough, and it sat with me for a couple days. I mean, I immediately went home. I was off the next day. I started watching a whole bunch of James Van Der Beek stuff. I'd watch like
Yep.
Dawson's highlights. I watched a couple episodes of Dawson's Creek. I jumped back into Don't Trust the Bee, watched some highlights on YouTube of different parts of his career. Not even just focusing on that. It's just, again, I know I'm repeating a lot of the same things, but my God, he was such a good person. And looking at back at like old posts and pictures he would post with his daughters and the things and son and the things that he hoped for them and his wife, and not even because of a diagnosis, but because he
No.
genuinely loved the life that he
Love
was
them.
living. Yeah, and it was great. There was a lot of outpour of love on the internet. I mean, I know algorithms kind of sync up to the things that you like, but every single post I saw
Every
was James
from
Van Der Beek.
so many different, like, people because I mean, obviously, actors know each other, but you'd be surprised on how many actors don't actually know each other because they don't ever work together.
Right.
So, there was, like, so many people, whether they were on the same network with him,
Mhm,
movies, just in the same, like, rooms with him, Dancing with the Stars, like, there are people that he met throughout his life, and you could tell, like, he was that guy.
mhm.
Like, he was the person that they all say because they've all said the exact same thing, like, he was a family man, he was an absolute just ray of light, and he brought so much to the table, whether it was his wisdom, his just acting chops, his friendship to people, just
Yep.
this one hit the millennials real hard
He
because
did.
so many people were texting me about it too, and I was just like, "What? No,
Yeah.
no." And I watched the very first episode, Dawson's Creek, first 5 minutes, absolute puddle. I was an
Mhm.
absolute puddle. And it wasn't even the fact that, like, obviously nothing sad was happening in the very first episode of 5 minutes, but it was just like, you could tell, like, you can feel his energy in that very first scene that I've probably already have noticed before, but it was different this time.
I think because of how we're connected to social media, I think seeing this outpour of tributes to him, we got to really get in touch with who James was outside of the character of Dawson. And then
Yeah.
seeing that energy that you're referring to, it's like, that is James.
Yeah.
So, that's the piece of James that we connected with. So that
Mhm.
energy, I totally know what you mean. 1000%. Are there any tributes that you pulled up that you wanted to share with people about nice things that people said?
There were a couple that stood out. I did see, like I said, there was a lot of the dance community from Dancing with the Stars who wrote, tributes to him.
Mhm,
Alfonso was one of them. He played Carlton from, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and like, they met each other through Dancing with the Stars. I wanna say that he was on that season,
Okay.
and that's how they met, but they were friends ever since, and, like, they would share family time with each other because Alfonso has kids, so, like, their kids know each other. His wife both of their wives are friend like, all of it. So, um, I didn't pull his up, but I have Emma Slater, who was his dance partner on Dance with the Stars. She wrote a gorgeous tribute to him because, I mean, they spent weeks together dancing. They just constant practice, and she was there for a lot of the stuff, especially, Kim having her miscarriage. She was there to dance with him at that last dance, which was so emotional by the time they finished. But she wrote I will get through this without crying. Hold on. Okay. So it was this was paired with a picture after they had just done the quick step, I believe it was week 4 of Dancing with the Stars, to Walking on Sunshine. She said, "My partner, my big brother. Over the many photos we've taken over the years, this is still one of my favorites. Dancing and laughing. It's what we do. All of those who had the pleasure of having you in their lives are blessed, forever changed by your brilliance. What to we got to have these beautiful years sharing life together." And then she makes a note on how his family changed her for the good and how they she experienced a community that he was building with his wife and his children, and she was like, "That has forever changed my life." I'm so grateful for you and all you've done for me. Your kindness, patience, empathy for others is unmatched. Your wise advice, I always marvel at the ability you had to master everything. Your schoolboy laugh, I will never forget. I'm so grateful that I got to see you on Sunday, talk to you, and tell you for the millionth time how much I love you. We laughed together, and I promised I would feel your presence always, as I already have. Thank you. I'm lucky to have known the man that you are. You have done so much, helped so many people. You'll be forever in my heart. And now I know whenever I'm guided, I'll be guided by you. I love you, partner. And that was Emma Slater.
Damn, Emma.
Like, yeah, like, uh, and she is such a beautiful dancer too, so, like, the choreography that she created for him to express his feelings, unmatched. She is
Mm.
fantastic. And I also found another one, which, uh, just a person in the comments, they commented, "I feel like our generation lost a sibling."
I feel
'Cause
it. 100%.
absolutely. 1000%. This was under Selma Blair's post to James Van Der Beek, which I'm not sure if they were ever in films together, but, like, the late '90s, early 2000s, all of those actors, like Sarah Michelle Gellar, Selma Blair, James Van Der Beek, Joshua Jackson, like, they were always together,
Mhm.
whether they were, like, working or not, but, like, they were in the same, I think I can't think of the word, but the
They were
same
they
room.
were yeah, they were because they were all in the WB, they would do promos together, so they were
Yes.
constantly doing and they would go to each other's premieres, which is something that doesn't happen anymore, but
Yeah.
I think that was a great thing that WB used to do. They used to bring these essentially, even if they weren't teenagers, they were in their early 20s or beginning their careers, so having them all together to do different promos for these shows brought them
Mhm,
all closer together as well, so, yeah.
mhm. So Selma Blair wrote, James Van Der Beek, we started at the same time in this town, and I always just admired and appreciated you so much. And then even more so when I met your wife and saw your complete love in that growing family in a way that bowled me over with gratitude that you existed. You will always and you always will through them. in your work, in your heart. You will be missed. I send all my love to you and your beautiful family. So much love.
Well, damn.
Yeah. And then I do have one more, which was from Chad Michael Murray. He said, sending love and light to your beautiful family. James was a giant. We are so, so, so sorry for what you're going through. His words, art, humanity inspired all of us. He inspired us to be better in all ways. God bless you.
Good too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just, reading these tributes from these people is just, these people worked with him. These people, became friends of friends with him and just saw all these great things about him. And the things that that you just shared alone, I mean, great words about an obvious great person.
Mhm.
All right, I have a few as well. We obviously have Katie Holmes. Had to do Joey Potter, and
Absolutely.
what Katie Holmes had to say was, I think, perfect. She spent a lot of time with James Van Der Beek, especially at the start of her career, and I love what she did. And she wrote a handwritten letter to him and posted that on social media, which you can't really get more personal than that.
No, not at all.
So Katie wrote, James, thank you. To share space with your imagination is sacred. Breathing the same air in the land of make believe and trusting that each other's hearts are safe in their expression. These are some of the memories, along with laughter, conversations about life, James Taylor songs, adventures of a unique youth, bravery, compassion, selflessness, strength, and appreciation for life, and the action taken to live life with the integrity that life is art. Creating a beautiful marriage, 6 loving children, the journey of a hero. I mourn this loss with a heart holding the reality of his absence and deep gratitude for his imprint on it. To Kimberly and the children, we are here for you, always, and will always be there to shower you with love and compassion. She then said, I formed some words with a heavy heart. This is a lot to process. I am so grateful to have shared in a piece of James's journey. He is beloved. Kimberly, we love you, and we will be here for you always and your beautiful children.
Yeah.
They were at a point in life together where they were just discovering themselves as well, much like the characters. They might have been a little bit older, but they're new in this world and they got to experience that together. So their coming of age story was shared together. So
Yeah.
this was, I couldn't imagine having that, just knowing the effect that James had on us. I could only
Uh-huh.
imagine someone who was there growing with him in the same type of world, in that same type of form of art.
Yeah.
And losing that piece, I know they were close over the years, but I don't know how often, they were close. There clearly was still a relationship there and an admiration that she expressed perfectly in a handwritten letter.
Uh-huh.
I have another one from Kerr Smith, also from Dawson's Creek, who played Jack.
Love him.
He posted a picture of the two of them together from Steel City Comic Con right in Pittsburgh, our hometown.
Love.
And he wrote, to Kimberly and your beautiful children. James was so many things. Brilliant, creative, wildly original, and completely himself in every room he walked into. Being around him meant thinking more deeply, laughing more freely, and feeling more awake to the world. He didn't just create work, he created connection. He created laughter. He created moments that stay with you. I cherish being his friend for 27 years through different seasons of life, through different versions of ourselves. Our early years shaped me in ways I still carry, and now, as adults, gave that friendship even more depth and meaning. Sharing a life alongside his in all its chapters is something I will forever be grateful for. Kimberly, he loved you deeply. And to his children, your father was extraordinary, not only in what he accomplished, but in who he was, his mind, his heart, his generosity. Rest easy, James. Knife and
Yeah.
heart. Like, what beautiful words to say about someone that, you met in your formative years as well and carried a relationship through all of this time. It just, these words mean so much, and I know that he knows it, but I
Yeah.
hope I hope that he did realize the lives that he touched over the years. Not just audiences, not just the art side of it all. I'm talking the real
The
life
people
human
that he worked
connections.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Um,
honestly, I think that he did from just how he is spoken in interviews and just interacting with them, like their
mhm,
20th reunion that they did for People. Like you can tell how much love was still in the room 20 years later, whether they had seen each other just yesterday or 10 years ago. Like
mm,
it was just like they went back to like, oh, I just saw you yesterday
yeah.
type. And it's a
Yeah.
heavy loss.
A heavy loss, and, I have another one, and this is
Mhm.
from, again, still sticking in the Dawson's Creek realm. This is from John Wesley Shipp Jr., who played Dawson's dad, Mitch Leary, on Dawson's Creek.
Ugh.
He posted a photo of him and James Van Der Beek when they were on set of Dawson's Creek, and then a photo of them more recently,
Mhm.
and he said, "I try to pause before commenting when a painful event occurs in the lives of people to whom I have been close, out of an abundance of caution, not to co-opt their personal pain and make it my own. I am so glad to have met James Van Der Beek's beautiful family at his Dancing with the Stars competition in LA, and most recently at the spectacular event Dawson's Creek on Broadway last fall. It is to them that my heart goes out at this moment, his beautiful wife, Kimberly, and family, and their families, and circle of closest friends. Your sorrow must be immense at this moment, and I center you in my heart. Thank you for your past embraces, and know that my arms are firmly around you and James's passing." Now to James. I had the privilege of working closely with James for over 4 years as the father of his character, Dawson, of Dawson's Creek. It delighted me that this father son relationship was affectionate and close, which allowed me to play intimate father son scenes with this remarkable young man. Acting is intimacy, and people often remarked that James and I began to reflect each other's expressions and movements, down to the eyebrows. Not out of intention, rather out of studying each other closely in the course of breathing life into Kevin Williamson's remarkable achievements through the characters he so carefully and thoughtfully crafted. This period in my career on the Eastern Coast Waterways, Wilmington, North Carolina, is frozen in time for me, apart from, and yet magically, informing my life. I can only say that I am grateful for you, James, your generosity with me as an actor, your desire to breathe life and truth into the often quirky, fun song, father son moments we shared together on screen. I offer up respect and affection at your passing, for the moving, serious, often hilarious moments we entered into the process of creating, and for memories that will last beyond our lifetimes.
Yep.
Yep.
There are tears in my eyeballs.
I mean, it's just, it's, I love what these people are saying because I hope many, 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 many years from now, when I pass, that I have left even a very brief, small cookie crumb of this type of impact on even just one person's life. To know that James had this impact on a mass group of people, and not just out of the need that it had to be that way because we worked together at some point in time. Like, you
Yeah.
feel it. Like,
Yeah, it wasn't a show. He wasn't doing it to like, "Oh, like, you guys are gonna like me and I'm gonna do this." Like, he was
mm,
just authentically himself,
yep.
and people were drawn to that, and you can tell because all of these writings are sound all so similar,
Hmm.
So, like, again, he was that person that he was portraying. It wasn't just a front of, like, a character. Like, he was that person.
Yes. With a billion percent. I do have one more. This
Yeah.
I stumbled upon by accident. I
Mhm.
wasn't even looking for it, and it spoke to me, and I really wanted to share it. So I talked a little bit about his role in The Rules of Attraction, and the director of that, Roger Avery, actually took to some form of media, and I found an article. This is him talking about James's passing, so it's obviously recent.
Mhm.
And this I love this because it's very honest. I'm going to read it. It's an article, so I'm going to read the article as it is. Avery commends the Dawson's Creek star for his support of independent filmmakers like himself, reflecting on how Van Der Beek showed up for him after Avery's 2008 drunk driving crash that left one person dead and resulted in Avery spending several months in jail. He said, "My life was forever altered by that irreversible experience. I discussed with James my time of incarceration and what it was like to have everything that you believe define you stripped away and to be placed into a box. In that cell, I discovered who I really am and what life really means and what has true value." He says Vanderbeek connected with him and shared what he learned during times he had to be away from his family. He said his discovery was that he is worthy of love, and his message, that we are all worthy of love, is what has stayed with me ever since that call, and especially since his passing. He came to my trial and sentencing, sat in the back row, and prayed silently to himself. He prayed for me, he prayed for his friend, and his faith helped me to face the consequences of my actions. He visited me while I was inside, and though we never made another movie together, he remained and still is and always will be my dear friend. I am crying as I write these words because the world has lost a powerful force of goodness, honesty, and truth when we need it the most. Avery then concluded, quoting Vanderbeek, "But life must go on. We are all worthy of love." Like, to know that James filmed this independent movie that not a ton of people saw, but he stayed connected with this director and was there for him through what has to have been one of the most traumatic things someone could deal with.
Mhm.
To be there by his side, judgment free, and to pray for him and give him advice just shows what a strong, understanding man James Van Der Beek was. And again, I wasn't even looking for this. I didn't even think, "Wonder what Roger Avery said." This came to me and I needed to share it because
Yeah.
damn, that really shows that really shows something right there.
It does, 'cause it just says that he wasn't going to allow somebody's worst moment define their
Mhm.
whole life.
Completely agree. So glad I got to share that. We touched briefly on with some of the Dawson's Creek tributes that they did a Dawson's Creek reunion on Broadway in New
Yeah.
York City for one night only. James Van Der Beek, unfortunately, was really sick at the time with a stomach virus, so he was not
Mhm.
able to attend. But what a wonderful thing that Michelle Williams threw together to bring the cast back together in honor of James Van Der Beek to help raise some money for what is obviously some extensive ass medical bills and to
Yeah.
help support his family. And seeing James when he, recorded a message for the audience apologizing for not being able to be there, just to see how wild the audience went for that, to hear what James
Yeah.
had to say, to see the love in the room for all of these characters, but more importantly, to honor James Van Der Beek even prior to his passing. That was great. It's unfortunate that James wasn't able to be there, but regardless, it was such a great thing to honor him even before his passing. So,
Yeah, and his kids and his wife were there,
mhm,
and his 2 oldest daughters, I believe,
mhm,
um, walked out on the stage with the cast and sang, Paula Cole's "I Don't Wanna Wait for Our Love to Be Over," and then the rest of the family came out and sung with them. One of the sweetest moments, I was a blubbering puddle
Mhm.
because whenever that happened, like, whenever the announcement or the breadcrumbs that they were giving us of saying, like, something is happening with the Dawson's Creek cast, and I just
Uh-huh.
remember sending something to my friend. I said, "It's happening. I don't know
Mhm.
what's happening, but whatever it is, it's Dawson's Creek. I don't
Yep.
know. We gotta find it. We
Yes.
need to find it." And, like, whenever I saw that it was only one night, I was like, "Okay, we can't get to New York City. However, I will watch every single post about
Yep.
this
Oh, yeah.
because I need
Same
to
way.
see it." And it looked like it was just so much fun,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that they were able to do that to raise money and awareness for colon cancer, for James, for his family. It's, I I couldn't imagine, and you could tell how emotional everybody was on the stage as
Oh,
well,
yeah. Yeah.
and you could just see the love around Kimberly and the kids from that whole cast, and I
Mhm.
absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Me too. Well, James seemed like a very, very in tune person with how he feels, and he has said a lot of great things over time, whether it be in posts or in interviews. Do you have any words of wisdom from James Van Der Beek that you found online?
Um, they were kind of longer. I wouldn't say words of wisdom. Well, they were words of wisdom, but I mean, of how it's written down. I can only talk about them because they were like longer stints of videos that he would put out on his Instagram. One, he was talking about like New Year's resolutions and how people do them in the beginning of the year. And he was like, that's silly because like we're in winter, you're supposed to still be like essentially hibernating. And then once the spring hits, like that's whenever our resolutions should be there, and to just embrace that whenever the earth is blooming and the trees are growing back and the flowers are out in nature. Like you can tell that man was in tune with nature, and I
Mm.
absolutely loved it. But he was like, no, New Year's resolutions, springtime, like, and just take that time of the winter to sit with yourself and just reflect. And I thought that was really
Love that.
powerful.
Oh. Mm.
There was a lot of stuff that he shared about his kids and to embrace the moments of just being alive. And I
Mm.
think that is honestly a lesson for everybody when it comes to life and death, because you get so caught up in the chaos of life of it all, you miss the living part of it. And I think
Yeah.
that he really looked at that for the last couple of years, and he was like, "No, I'm going to live with I'm gonna live my life with my wife and my children, as
Mhm.
much life as I can."
Yeah.
And I commend that.
Yeah. Honorable for sure. And like you said, he did do a lot of videos on his Instagram, where he would talk about things like that. Yeah, he had a lot of wisdom. I'm sure that he hopefully those kids hold on to a lot of the things that their dad said, or they're able to go back and relive these things that he's saying on his social media out loud. And
Yeah.
in a weird way for sure is, I think about the end of Dawson's Creek with Jen dying and the video that she
Mhm.
made for her little one, and how accessible that is for her to watch, further in life down the road and listen to her mom's advice. So, with the way the world is now and social media at our fingertips, I do hope that these kids are able to go back and see all of these great things that James did and said,
Yeah.
and they can follow their dad's advice and his wisdom. I do have a few quotes from him. They're not super lengthy, but a couple of them really stuck out for me. One is, if life is a journey, not a destination, then relationships are your vehicle. They take you to places and experiences you would have never gotten to on your own. They accelerate your process, and with the proper care, attention, and maintenance, they can make the easy parts more fun and get you through the rough patches. So good.
So
Couple
good.
couple others. He said, "Thank God for surprises, for the detours, for those times the universe heard my plans and said, "Yeah, that's cute. Try this." Love that.
I do love that because it's honestly, the universe would be like, "Hey,
Mhm.
actually, found
Yeah.
something better for you."
Let's go over here.
Yeah.
Uh, he also said, "The only worthwhile question seems to be, what kind of energy am I generating? What's my contribution to the collective? And how does it feel in my heart? Everything else is just noise."
Yeah.
And then I have one last one. This is my favorite.
Mhm.
I obviously don't have kids, but this can go for anyone in your life. He said, "There was a moment when I thought I needed to teach my kids that life can be hard, but life does a perfectly adequate job of teaching that on its own. So I realized that I was probably most useful teaching my kids what can be easy, how easy it can be to love, to laugh, to cry, to learn, and to find joy in both the plans and detours alike." I really like that quote because it's so true, and it doesn't even have to be just teaching your kids. I mean, even as a manager, being a role model for people that work for me, it's just, how can I teach people these things that they take for granted,
Mhm.
the easy moments in life, even if it's at work or in your home life or just with your friends, with your significant other, with your family, like, just take a second and enjoy life. Like you said,
Yeah.
Brittany, life gets really chaotic at times, and sometimes we focus on the, well, this isn't good or that's not right, and we keep that negative aspect as the focal point, and that's not what it's about. And I think at the end of the day, we have the Dawson Learys, we have the Mox from Varsity Blues, we have the exaggerated version of James Van Der Beek in Don't Trust the Bee. We have the dancer, we have the singer, we have the family man. But at the end of the day, we just have this idea that we need to live life to the fullest. And that's what I think was the true role that James played in this world. As
Yeah.
corny as it sounds, that
Not corny at all.
that's truly what I get from his art, from his social media posts where he's able to connect with fans, and from the social media posts that people tag him in, that let us kind of look into the world of who he was in his everyday life. So at the end of it all, we have lost someone who, not only for millennials, but for people like us who grew up alongside of his career, we lost someone who was a good man, a good father, a good friend, a good actor, and
Good
it's
husband,
tough. Good husband, yes. Um,
a good
and
son, a brother.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and he was all of those things. Death is hard, and this one was definitely rough. And I'm
Mhm.
glad that you and I were able to sit here and honor him in our way. And
Yeah.
I hope that there are people listening or watching or whatever it might be that are able to, take their time to go back and look at some of the great contributions James had, not only on the screen, but with the information from family and loved ones alike.
Yeah. And I think too, that last quote that you talked about, I think he broke down what grace is
Mm,
in so many aspects of life, because I think things happen and you you as a person get so caught up in something that you're not giving yourself, whoever else is in this situation, grace. And like all of that I feel is the definition of grace. So it's a good thing to hear, especially during this time of the world, whatever the fuck is happening.
mm,
Um, because it kinda just brings you back to no, no, center
yeah,
yourself.
yeah. He's hopefully his family, his friends, and us can keep his light alive in this
Mhm.
crazy ass world that we're currently living in and maybe live a little bit more like him. Circling back to Dawson, the first time you and I both ever saw James Van Der Beek on the screen, was even aware of his presence. Um,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to be a dreamer. Don't be afraid to be in touch with your emotions. Be honest. Fight for what you believe in, and know that there are many forms of love, and it's okay to love many and do it authentically. And
Mhm.
that's what I take from Dawson Leery, and that's definitely what I take from James Van Der Beek as well. James, if you're listening out there, I appreciate all that you've done for not only your family and friends, but through your career, telling stories, shaping yourself in front of us in the way that you knew how to, and showing us your talent, and leaving us with a lot of wisdom. You fought the good fight. We will all forever honor you in all the ways that we can, and I know I'll always be watching Dawson's Creek for many,
Always.
many, many years. And thanks for allowing me to understand myself a little bit better and not be afraid to dream. Maybe if it wasn't for Dawson Lear, I wouldn't be sitting in front of a microphone making a podcast. As silly as it sounds, it's all connected in some weird way that these characters that are created in this art form and the things that James Van Der Beek had to say definitely lives on with me. And I think you would say the same for yourself.
I do agree. Like, who he was as Dawson Leery, the first time I've ever seen James Van Der Beek, I was 10 years old, and he genuinely taught me that character taught me how to be a dreamer. Say how you feel because sometimes you don't get that second chance. So you might as well just say it and see what happens. And to always strive to be a better version of you. And I think that's what Dawson Leary did. I think that's what James Van Der Beek did. And it shows in the legacy of what everybody has spoken about him. So clearly he was doing something right in his life. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And it will forever live on in many, many forms. And I guess at the end of the day, all we can say is gotta live a little
Thank
bit
you.
more. Yeah, they say thank you. And we gotta live a little bit more like James.
Yeah.
But Brittany, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to chat with me about James Van Der Beek. I know this wasn't on our roster for an episode to do, but I'm glad for the opportunity to be able to shift schedules around of what we wanted to do originally and get to honor James Van Der Beek and his career and life. And there was no one else I would have wanted to do it with other than you. So thanks for taking the
Agreed.
time to do it. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine it any other way because immediately I thought, like, I, I need to talk about this. And who
Yeah.
better to talk about this than with Dave?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for asking me and thank you for always being there.
Absolutely. I back at you. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great day, great night, whatever time it is that you're listening or watching or whatever it is that you're doing. And I do hope that you are able to listen to this episode and appreciate life and the unfamiliarity of what the next moment's going to be. Live in the moment, love a little more, and just live.
Yes.
So
Just live.
just live.
The hardest thing in this world is to live in it, and we just got to do it.
Just gotta do it, guys.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you all have a great night. We will see you next time. Have a good
See
one.
you next time. Bye.
Bye.